now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today. Last night, we lost one of the icons of black cinema and one of the iconic men who defined black manhood and black masculinity in the 20th century. Actor Richard Roundtree passed away at 81 years old after a battle with pancreatic cancer, and he will sadly be missed by a lot of people in the black community. Now, Richard Roundtree will always be remembered for his signature role as John Shaft in the 1971 movie Shaft, and will always be remembered for redefining black manhood and black masculinity for an entire generation of black men and creating a model for black manhood and black masculinity that has been passed on from generation to generation. Now, Richard Roundtree was born on July 9th, 1942 in New Rochelle, New York, and his father, John, worked as a garbage collector and a caterer, and his mother, Catherine, worked as a maid and a nurse. And as they both worked two jobs, which is what many black people did during that time of Jim Crow in the South and discrimination in the North to live a middle-class lifestyle, Richard Roundtree attended New Rochelle High School and played for its undefeated football team. Now, after he graduated high school in 1961, Richard Roundtree went to Southern Illinois University and got a scholarship for football as a walk-on, but left in 1963 to pursue a modeling career. And it was as he pursued that modeling career that he was hired by Eunice W. Johnson, who ran the Ebony Fashion Fair and posed for print ads not only for the Ebony Fashion Fair, but also did ads for Salem cigarettes and Duke hair products. Now, as Richard Roundtree was pursuing his modeling career, he got some advice from Bill Cosby that basically changed his life and decided to go out here and work on his acting skills and joined the Negro Ensemble Company and worked with contemporaries like Esther Rolle, Arthur French, Robert Hooks, and Rosalind Cash, and Denise Nichols and Moses Gunn. And as he was working with many of these performers, he was out here again honing his skills. And as he honed those skills, he was at a Philadelphia theater portraying a boxer in a production of The Great White Hope when he heard about the Shaft audition. And it was that Shaft audition that basically took his life to the next level after getting the advice from Bill Cosby. Now, with that advice, he went to the audition and met director Gordon Parks, and people at MGM originally wanted Shaft to be a white guy, but Gordon Parks just insisted that the Shaft character be a black character, and that character basically was the one that laid the foundation for redefining the image of black manhood and black masculinity, an image that had been defined in mainstream white media as this, originally before Shaft came along, as this buck-dancing, cowardly black man who was either a minstrel or a brute. But thanks to Gordon Parks' insistence that Richard Roundtree get the role and insist that the character of Shaft be black, we got a defining image of black manhood that showed us a black man who was a man who was a leader and an authority figure, a man who was his own man, and a man who did not defer to anyone regardless of race. And it was this image of Shaft that basically changed the way a lot of black boys and black men started to see themselves and basically show black people that they could be heroes in their own community. So for a lot of black people, Shaft was basically like a black Superman for a lot of people because we never really got to see a strong positive image of black manhood and black masculinity before 1971. I mean, yes, there was Melvin Van Peebles' character in Sweet Sweetback's Badass song, but that opened the door for Gordon Parks to go out here and be able to present Shaft to an audience. So both of those films basically laid a foundation for redefining the black image. and showed the world that there was an audience for movies that featured black heroes. And Richard Roundtree's portrayal of John Shaft, again, this really opened the door for an entire generation of black people to see an image of black manhood and black masculinity that was balanced for the first time. And this film basically, again, opened the door for the mainstreaming of black cinema in the mainstream, because Shaft was one of the biggest movies of 1971. The studio originally thought this film wasn't going to do well, but it turned out to be one of the biggest hits of 1971, and it was one of the biggest acclaimed films. It also had music by Isaac Hayes, which was performed at the Academy Awards and won. The song Shaft won Oscar for Best Song. So the film of Shaft basically was Richard Roundtree's signature role, and it was the role that basically defined black manhood and black masculinity for not only the generation of baby boomers, it also defined it for many Gen Xers and onward, showing us that a black man could go out here and be a strong image of manhood and masculinity, and a man could go out here and lead and set his own direction for his life. Now, as Richard Roundtree went on after Shaft, he had gone out here and starred in several Shaft sequels, and as he starred in sequels like Shaft Goes to Africa, Shaft's Big Score, and even a Shaft TV series, he had, again, a long career with a lot of great roles that he portrayed. I mean, he also did roles in other films like Earthquake and Escape to Athena and What Men Want, and he also starred in a lot of other great black films, like he did with the film Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored by Tim Reed, a very great film that I highly recommend you go out here and see, because that was another balanced image of a role that he played as a black man. And he's also done roles in miniseries like Roots, and he's done roles in TV shows like Soul Food and Rock and Hanging with Mr. Cooper and Being Mary Jane. I mean, Richard Roundtree had a very long and storied career and starred in a lot of great TV shows and movies, but he will always be remembered by me for portraying the role of John Shaft, and will always be remembered for going out here and being the guy who redefined black manhood and black masculinity, taking us off the roles of white supremacy wanted to portray us as the minstrel, and laying the foundation for showing us that black men could be strong and masculine. And I have to say, again, he did an excellent job with many of his performances. And I have to also say that if it wasn't for Bill Cosby, we wouldn't have had John Shaft, because it was Bill Cosby who gave him that advice. So when I think about the redefinition of manhood, yes, I mourn the passing of Richard Roundtree, but we wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for Bill Cosby financing Melvin Van Peebles with Sweet Sweetback, and also giving advice to Richard Roundtree to go into acting. So all of this, again, we see the hand of Bill Cosby in the background as related to shaping the image of black men and black manhood. And Richard Roundtree did a powerful series of performances to open the door to changing the image of black men. Now, Richard Roundtree in his personal life had been dealing with cancer in the past. He had a double mastectomy and was one of the rare men to get breast cancer and survive that experience. And as he was battling pancreatic cancer, he was still persevering and going on with acting, and still going on playing many great roles throughout his career. And he was also a family man, following in the footsteps of his own father, going on to be married 2 times and going on to have, I believe he had 5 children. And as he's gone on and again taking care of his family, again maintaining a family and building on generations as related to showing that a black man could not only be an example of manhood on screen, he was also an example of manhood off screen, showing great character and showing great respect as a black man. And he was also not really happy at one time of being typecast, but it was his father that made him appreciate the role that he was given. I mean, he was a little upset at one time about being typecast as Shaft, but his father let him know that he got an opportunity that he should have been appreciating being blessed with, because a lot of people aren't known for anything in this world. And that's what his father sat down and told him. And I was glad to hear that, because sometimes you need a father to give you perspective on things in life. And Richard Roundtree then appreciated what his father had told him, because he was blessed with an opportunity to go out here and live an abundant life. I mean, he was blessed to live a great life, to be able to go out here during the days of discrimination in the North and be able to live very well thanks to his parents taking care of him. He was blessed to go out here and pursue a career in modeling with black people, again, empowering him through the fashion fair cosmetics. I mean, he was blessed to get lots of opportunities and get help from people like Bill Cosby. And he was blessed to go on to have a promising career for the last 50 years. I mean, yeah, you're typecast in a role that you think is defining you, but that role defined black men and shaped a generation of black men. And Richard Roundtree, again, lived a blessed life and is one of our elders who is now on with the ancestors and now can rest in power because he's had an abundant life. And I'm hoping that others will be inspired by all of the things that he did and the contributions he gave to this world. Because when I think about what Richard Roundtree Shaft did was as a film from Gordon Parks, I mean, that film, again, it made a lot of black boys start to really take a look at themselves and see that they could be something more than being under a white person. They could go out here and be their own man. And that's one of the greatest contributions Richard Roundtree gave with this portrayal of Shaft. I mean, when I think about, again, that the character of Shaft, I mean, it's one of those things that inspired me to go out here and create characters like John Haynes and create masculine images of black men. So I'm deeply saddened to hear about Richard Roundtree's passing, but I know that he's resting in power, and I'm hoping that he is celebrated here, celebrated in the kingdom with the Most High as he is here, because here he is respected for all of the great contributions he's given to black cinema, and he's also respected for all of the contributions he's given to the image of black men, black manhood, and black masculinity. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.